What's up, everybody?
My name is Anthony Irvin.
You beat yourself?
Yeah, CB myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Jim Green.
Don't even leave a hit of traffic light.
Okay, good.
Welcome to
One set. What's up, everybody? How we doing? It's Jim here. Checking in with yous. Yeah. Just gonna do a quick episode with yous today. The next set of episodes coming up are gonna be a little lengthier, so I'm gonna keep this one short. We are on the road to WrestleMania. We are 2 weeks out by the time this publishes. 15 days by the time this comes out. Anthony and I actually started to cover some things. We have some pretty big plans for WrestleMania weekend, which you'll find about. Sorry, which you'll find out about next week in next week's episode. Yeah. We don't actually go through like the match card itself. We're going to save that for the Mania weekend itself. And then the week after WrestleMania, we will have our reactions to the show as a whole. And then after that, we'll take a break from wrestling. So if you are not a wrestling fan, and, you know, more so a WWE fan, we get it. We understand. We do cover the other sports. We do talk our music and dance lives, and we talk about our history as friends and things of that nature. So the past 2 years since we've been doing this, the road to WrestleMania every week, it's very wrestling heavy. So yeah, after the week after WrestleMania, after that, we'll definitely take a little break from that and get back to all of the other things and then some that we would normally cover. Our watch-alongs, movie and TV shows, the what if, all the alternate endings, things of that nature. So yeah, let's talk about the lower and mid-card matches that are already announced for WrestleMania. And again, we're 2 weeks out. They are apparently planning to announce 4 more matches so that each night has 7 matches on the card. So we're getting 14 matches apparently, which 7 matches on a WrestleMania night doesn't seem like a heavy card. But man, when Anthony and I went to WrestleMania 35 and it was the last WrestleMania that they had all the matches in one night. It was a 7+ hour show. So I think them finally pulling the trigger on going to 2 nights so that they can allow the matches that are on each night to breathe, and then they have all the stuff that they do in between the matches. It either doesn't rush everything so much, it doesn't elongate the show. I'm glad that they went with the 2-night situation. Obviously, if you attend WrestleMania, you either have to pick one night or fork over the tickets for both nights. So that's kind of a toss-up. Obviously, they want each show to have almost equal value to it, so it's not heavier on one night, and then the other night is just kind of like it's there to be there. Yeah, we are not going to cover today. I'm not going to cover the main events of both nights. I say that now. We'll see where I'm at in like a half hour from now. But I wanted to kind of touch base on the matches that are announced now, and how well I feel like they're featured on TV. Um, Again, I am watching when I can, as much as I can. If not, I am getting the highlights. Um, I am more tuned in to this WrestleMania um, than most other previous WrestleManias, just as far as the build on TV and being tuned in. I'd say every Monday Night Raw I've basically watched. Um, I'd get home from work and either start it from the beginning, or kind of already know what's happening. If it was stuff that I'm like, okay, I don't need to go back and see that. Um, I will just start Raw because I usually get home about an hour into the show from work, and then um, decide if I'm going to start from the beginning. If the opening segment was like must see, I'll start it from the beginning. Um, if there's good matches happening in that first hour, that's like, okay, I don't want to miss this. I will say this past week, I did do that, and then I didn't make it all the way through the show, so I did wind up on on Hulu catching. They actually condensed the show for Hulu. They cut from 3 hours to like an hour and a half, I think it is. Um, Definitely some things from Raw that made their way around Twitter that were excluded. um, Most notably being there was a last man standing match or last woman standing match between Nia Jax and Becky Lynch, and supposedly the chair shots that Nia was delivering to Becky were abysmal, to say the least. Right. So I did read up on that, and I did go looking for that, and it wasn't on the Hulu version. So I was like, I'm just gonna, um, I'm just gonna take people's word for it here that not Nia has a history of like injuring whoever she's in the ring with. So people were saying like, oh, maybe she was actually just trying to be careful and not injure Becky before her Mania match with Rhea. I've also never seen her swing a chair before, so maybe she just can't. Kind of a wild thing to think about. I mean, her being, you know, this massive heel that she is, um, take that as you will. Um, you would think she'd be able to swing a chair, but she probably just doesn't have the control to know how to swing it and make it look effective and not hurt the person she's swinging the chair at. Um, Nonetheless, if that's the case, maybe just don't do those chair shots, right? um, anyway, caught up on that Tuesday morning. I caught up on that match, and I also went back and watched the qualifier match. I guess this is where we'll start with the card here. They did announce last week, I believe, on Raw that there would be a 6-team ladder match for the tag team championships at WrestleMania. And then they were going to do qualifier matches just to get those matches to fill the time on TV where they're not building the other feuds. This is nothing outside of routine where they would do qualifying matches to make it into a multi-person match in WrestleMania. But the qualifier match that I missed was DIY, so it's Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa versus the Creed brothers. They announced that qualifier match, and people, myself included, were surprised that one of those teams were going to get eliminated because both teams should be in that WrestleMania match because of how good that they are. I will say DIY going into the match, winning that qualifier match, I definitely believe was the right move if you had to pick a team, just because they've been up on the main roster for a while, and the Creed brothers just came up recently. So if we're talking about a team that deserved to be there versus could sit this WrestleMania out because they're newer, they picked the right team. Okay. But I heard the match was excellent, so I made it a point to go back and watch that one the next day. And man, it is one of the better tag matches that I've seen on Raw in a while. This is not a surprise to me because DIY, their tag matches down in NXT, um, none of them were even mediocre. They were all, even the ones on just regular week to week NXT. And I think at that time NXT wasn't even on TV yet. You still had to watch it on the network, right? So to see Gargano and Ciampa get their Mania moment where this is their first Mania together, this is what they've been working towards. I'm happy that they're getting on the show as a tag team together rather than they're on a singles run and they're not involved together. Like this is how they should be featured in their first WrestleMania as a tag team together. Yes, they'll be in a multi tag team tag match, a ladder match at that, which I am 100% in no doubt that they will be um, excellent in the match. So I am looking forward to that. Um, the other teams in that match, this is obviously um, it's Judgment Day. I knew that. I was just not sure if it was Finn Balor and Damian Priest or if Dom was getting in there. I think um, I think it's interesting right now that they don't have something for Dominic Mysterio to do at WrestleMania. That being said, that doesn't mean that he won't be involved in the show. He'll definitely be involved in the show. I just him having his match with Ray last year. Um, the guy has apparently worked so many house shows throughout the past year and has put in the work. And they have utilized him so well. I am glad that he's been embracing the heel character. He's getting the most boos of anyone that I know of in the past several years. And when I say several, I mean I can't remember the last time someone had this much heat on them.
Have you ever wanted to start your podcast but didn't know where to start? The One Set Bros are here to talk to you about Zencaster. Zencaster is the ultimate base podcasting solution and now the all-in-one podcasting platform, making podcasting easy. They've sure made it easy for us to be able to record our podcast and our episodes every week for you guys. Once you've set up your account, you're simply one click away from recording a high-quality podcast with studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. My personal favorite feature is their multi-layered backups, which ensure our recordings are always in the highest quality, even during unstable web connections. And if you thought you needed multiple tools and services for your podcast, Zencaster's all-in-one podcasting platform allows you to create your podcast all in one place and distribute to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to Zencaster.com/pricing and use our code OneSetPod, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencaster paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experience as we do with all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story.
It's been a while. I know you could talk about Baron Corbin. I think people just generally didn't care for his character and were just like, okay, like I know I've ragged on him before. I'm not saying the guy can't do good work in the ring. He just wow. He just bores me. Right? and by he just bores me, I mean like his gimmick overall. I'm just like, not doing it for me. Dom's heel gimmick has just been so well done. But at any rate, let's get back to the tag match itself. Finn Balor, Damian Priest, defending. Can't talk today. It's only 2:30 in the afternoon. Finn Finn Balor, Damian Priest defending against DIY, and the Awesome Truth, which is The Miz and R-Truth, and Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Being the New Day, obviously. I have been expecting Big E to come back. I thought we were getting him and Gunther at WrestleMania. I think we all thought, not we all thought, but we knew Brock versus Gunther was the move before all the Vince McMahon stuff was going down, and Brock Lesnar was involved in that somehow. They wrote Brock Lesnar off of like basically everything. They wiped him in WWE. The video game that just came out, he's not a playable character in the game. He's in the game in some capacity. I haven't played any of the newer games, so I can't really speak to like how they're laid out and all this. Any rate, there's 2 tag teams left to be determined. A lot of people think, oh, maybe we get the Dudley Boys. Devon Dudley did have some health conditions, and I don't see that being a thing. I think we're getting Bubba Ray in some capacity at WrestleMania. It's just a matter of what. Jeff Hardy is still under contract with AEW. Some people are saying that Matt still is. I also read that his contract expired a week or 2 ago. He was at Raw, which, from what I've seen and read, each promotion doesn't care. Like for AEW and WWE, they don't care if superstars go to the other events, because let's be serious, some of these wrestlers and superstars are friends, good friends with people in the opposite promotions. Like they're not going to ban their people from going to the other promotion. Well, Matt Hardy posted, I guess, a video or a photo of him at Raw, which I guess that's like a no, like frowned upon kind of thing. To which I'm like, Matt Hardy, at this point in his career, you think he really cares about upsetting people? I mean, the dude has done his dues. He's paid his time. If it was a younger up and coming talent, I could see where the promotions could be like, wow, that's probably not a good look for you professionally. Like to post on your own accord, not like a fan posts a picture. Oh, we saw like Bailey has gone to see Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, call her, whichever. She's gone to see her in outside promotions. She's not posting about it herself, right? It's just fans are like, oh, Bailey's here. She's not going to get in trouble for that, right? Any rate, I think that the other 2 tag teams are to be determined either on tonight or once this airs tomorrow. Once this episode of One Set airs tomorrow, it will be tonight's SmackDown episode. I would imagine the other 2 teams get filled in, unless they leave a surprise. Like, hey, they've been known to do that too, where you get like a surprise opponent at WrestleMania, and then everyone speculates, oh, who's going to be, right? I don't know. I'm looking forward to the match regardless. I do think that they're going to hang both sets of belts up, and you're going to get 2 teams, 2 separate teams get the separate belts so that you separate the championships. I also do feel that if they're going to keep the belts on one team, then at some point after WrestleMania, maybe even Raw or SmackDown, they get presented with the new unified tag titles, and I would just have them work both Raw and SmackDown. The tag team roster on both shows could use the tag champions, just like they have been for the most part. I think the Usos, when they were the tag champs, the unified tag champs, with the Bloodline, I do think that they crossed over to Raw here and there, but not a lot. Judgment Day, since they've been utilized on all of the shows, even NXT when they were down there and Dom was a North American champion. I do think that having the tag champs working either both Raw and SmackDown or making appearances on NXT is a good move. Having separate champions on Raw and separate champions on SmackDown. The last time that we saw that, you had New Day on one roster and the Usos on another roster as the tag champs, and they will get flipped during drafts, whatever. And it was like those were the two top teams, and then it was like everyone else was beneath them, right? So I think having one solid tag team as your champions is the move. Who wins that match? I'm really not sure yet. I'll talk about that more when I do my Mania predictions the Friday before WrestleMania itself in 2 weeks. Let's move along in the card here. I do kind of talk about this in the episode next week, and it's the only match that I really brought up that I'm the least excited about, is the LA Knight and AJ Styles match. Love watching the both of them. I feel like this match is kind of like a consolation prize to LA Knight for how over that he got and how much merch that, like, his merch sales were in the top 3 and top 5 when he was super over, which he's not at the moment. I think the Roman match in Saudi killed his momentum a little bit, and then the Fatal 4 match at the Rumble, definitely his momentum has slowed up a little bit. So it's good to see that he gets the match. AJ Styles should definitely be on the card. So it makes sense to put the two of them together. AJ will, I'm sure, give LA Knight a good rub. I don't see LA Knight losing that match for any reason. But they've done, I think it was AJ Styles versus Chris Jericho was the first AJ Styles WrestleMania match. And I'm pretty sure Styles didn't win the match. And people were like, what? I think that they just did that to throw a wrench in everybody's prediction. So if AJ Styles does win that match, I think it's just to continue the feud, and eventually LA Knight wins if they carry it all the way to SummerSlam. Then LA Knight wins at SummerSlam, and we start elevating LA Knight after the fact. Just the build of the feud right now is the one that I care the least about. And I think what I'll do is I'll roll on to the next. I mean, there's a couple matches on here right now that I think the matches will turn out good. I am excited for. I was excited when Bayley won the Women's Rumble. Kind of saw that coming. I actually predicted her to win, to break up the damage control dynamic. I'm just not really loving damage control without Bayley. It's not a knock to the rest of the women in that stable. Just Bayley carried that stable. She made that stable. Io Sky is the champion. I know she's great in the ring. But from like a mic perspective gimmick, and nothing to do with like a language barrier or anything like that, I actually think that she's fine. Her work in NXT, I thought she was great on the mic and selling herself. I loved Io as the champion in NXT. She was champion in NXT during the pandemic, though, so like a little tough to gauge. And NXT, I think it's more, as long as your gimmick is doing pretty all right, you're getting over with the crowd. As long as your in-ring work is like really, really solid, you're most likely coming up to the main roster. I saw no reason why Io wouldn't. She did get released when Vince was in, and Triple H wound up bringing her back. Glad he did. Now it's just making, um, her, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Dakota Kai relevant. So if you have Dakota Kai taking over for Bailey as like the strong heel with like the mic presence, um, I get it, and it would be good. It would be good for Dakota Kai, um, for a little while now. She's not going to get over on her own, right? You need to keep her with people until she improves a little bit. Um, that's just my take. I thought the feud, once Bailey announced that she, like, the way that they had Bailey transition out of Damage Control and she turned on them, even though the rest of them were turning on her behind her back, kind of thing. Um, I thought it was done really well. I just haven't cared about it since then. I just feel like the build after the fact has been very just like, it's just kind of there. I hope they have a great match. I do realize that Rhea and Becky are getting way more time and investment in their build. I mean, they undoubtedly are the bigger two stars compared to Bailey and Io. So that match is going to get more attention. I understand that. I just wish that the Bailey and Io feud felt more important. How they get there is just how creative is building it on TV week to week. Hopefully they intensify that a little bit in the next couple weeks to make us care a little bit more about it. It's just my take. Not really sure who wins that, honestly. I mean, I think to me, it made sense for Bailey to win to get the belt off of Io. I'm just not sure where Bailey goes as the champ after. Yeah, you can continue the feud with Damage Control after. I just think it's going to get stale. And I can't see Bailey holding, if she wins, I can't see Bailey holding the belt beyond SummerSlam, which kind of stinks, right? I think Bailey as a heel, she was the best part of WWE pandemic era. She owned it. Okay. She was the best part of the pandemic. And I say that not because the other superstars weren't trying their damnedest, to do shows without anybody in attendance. Bailey still made it feel like there were thousands of people in the stands and then some. Because she knows how to be a heel. She's a better heel than a face, which I know her coming up through NXT and getting to the main roster, she was a super over baby face. Her heel turn and run was so good that I think she's struggling right now to just go back to being a baby face. Like they need to invest in her like they've invested in Cody Rhodes being the most over baby face. And how you get there, you got to have her chase after a monster heel, and Io's not the monster heel. I get going up against the odds against Damage Control is kind of tough, theoretically. But, I mean, that being said, obviously, Io and Asuka and Kairi and Dakota, they're not heel monsters like Roman Reigns, right?
When you're talking about hydration is not only for people training for championships and marathons. We're talking about daily maintenance people. Jim, did you know that 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated?
I believe it, Anth. I mean, honestly, in my line of work, dealing with teaching children and also dancing with adults my age, younger and older, I can almost tell based off of how well people not just perform athletically, but how we carry ourselves and how we communicate back and forth, our facial gestures and just our energy alone. I can tell when somebody's sluggish and they're sleep deprived versus they're just sluggish because they're a dried up sponge because they are dehydrated, right?
Absolutely. And for people like me who are working the 9 to 5, and, for me gigging at night, proper hydration is definitely crucial to maintain function throughout the day and keeping yourself energized. And that's why proper functional hydration is essential. And who's going to give it to you? Liquid IV, because Liquid IV is the number one powered hydration brand in America. Their hydration multiplier is the one product you're missing in your daily routine. I like to use it first thing in the morning. I've been doing a lot of workouts here and there, so I pop it in my water bottle first thing in the morning. Gives me a little boost of energy, what I need. And sometimes during the day when I'm doing that like 2 o'clock, rundown, I'll pop a little one. If not in the morning, it gives me a little bit of that energy that I need. With just one stick, you can hydrate real life 2 times faster than water alone, plus get essential vitamins and 3 times the electrolytes as the leading sports drink. And not only that, Liquid IV comes in 12 delicious, refreshing flavors to keep your hydration routine exciting.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, like my day to day, I'll wake up and pop a liquid IV just to get my day started and start off with proper hydration. And then I am like required to be physically active between the hours of like 2 or 3 p.m. until 9, 10, 11, sometimes midnight if I'm doing a backup gig. So I'll do another one maybe around noon, 1 p.m., and that'll keep me going throughout the day. And I just feel so much better. I don't even drink coffee on the regular like that because I don't need to pick me up unless if I'm like really just not sleeping much. And then I'm like, all right, get me that. I don't like to rely on caffeine unless I absolutely feel like I need it. Liquid IV does the trick for me. I don't know about you.
Again, one stick with Liquid IV and 16 ounces of water hydrates you 2 times faster and more efficient than water alone. It contains 5 essential vitamins with 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drinks, and it's made with quality ingredients, non GMO, and free of gluten, dairy, and soy.
Liquid IV believes that equitable access to clean and abundant water is the foundation of a healthier world. They partner with leading organizations to fund and foster innovative solutions that help communities protect both their water and their futures. To date, Liquid IV has donated over 39 million servings in 50 plus countries around the world.
Yeah, man. Real people, real flavor, real hydrating. Get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use our code 1SETPOD. That's 1SETPOD and at checkout. That's 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code 1SETPOD at liquidiv.com.
Anyone can say, okay, well, Charlotte's the monster heel of the women once she comes back. We've seen Bailey and Charlotte enough, right? I mean, it's tough to say, okay, how do you get Bailey over as a babyface? Like, who is that next monster heel that you would have to dethrone? I personally don't think Nia Jax needs a title. It's like, when you talk about Kane being a monster heel, like literally big red machine, it was like I think he was champion one time and his reign was not that long because he didn't need a title ever. He was just you love to watch him. He was massive, right? So I am good with Nia staying out of all of the title pictures. She could do without him. I get that um she needs to say that she is the most dominant force. Um but she doesn't need to be champion. She has been before. Um I do think that they eventually give her one more long title run. So maybe they do have Bailey chasing after Nia. Um, I guess I'd be okay with it if they if they were able to make Nia even more of a monster with the title, and they made Bailey to be like, you know, the chasing baby face, it could work. I guess I get behind it. Um, but they have to invest in that feud for me to care about it, right? Um, again, I I could see Io retaining and just holding the belt a little bit longer. Um, but her as a champion also doesn't really do a lot for me. Like if she held the belt, they need to figure something else out. I don't know. I think that they could have I'm there isn't women's tag champions right now. They you know put that on the shelf. I forget when. We just stopped caring about the women's tag belts for whatever reason. They weren't being built right creatively. Um, but you could have the rest of Damage Control holding the women's tag belts, and you could swap in Asuka, Kyrie, Io, and Dakota, just like the New Day was rotating in who was defending the tag belts. Um, I'd be good with that because then they could hold the women's tag belts for however long, and then you could start to build the women's tag division, which there are a lot of good women superstars in NXT. So if you wanted to bring a handful of them up and just put them in the tag teams, um, that would be good. That would make sense, right? If you wanted to elevate the women's division, you build a good it's like how they really tried to build up and coming talent before. Put them in a tag team first, see if they can work well in a tag team. And then once they start thriving, you split up the team and then you have them go on singles runs separately, whichever one is getting more over with the audience, or whoever they like better, whoever they think is better in the ring and they invest in, which just side note, right? Street Profits. I'm shocked that Montez Ford is not on a singles run right now. Just gonna say that. Just gonna put that out there. If he's not in some solid singles run by this time next year, I'll be like, what are they doing? They know that this guy gets over. I think it's because he and Angelo Dawkins are with Bobby Lashley right now, and they're they're they're, they're kind of just in a holding pattern with Final Testament, which is Karrion Kross and Authors of Pain. I do think that match, the 6-man tag match, is one of the 4 remaining matches that are rumored to be announced for Mania. And you could fit that anywhere in the middle of the show, night 1 or night 2. Good breather match because yes, there is some push with that feud on TV. That match has been rumored. I think that they just kind of announced that maybe even next week to happen. Because last SmackDown, they announced, like, I know they announced the LA Knight AJ Styles match. They announced the United States Triple Threat match, which I'll get to in a second. Just to like announce them and get them on the card so that it let people know, hey, these matches are happening, to try to just build the card up, right? That being said, I do think that match winds up happening. That's Lashley and the Street Profits against Final Testament, Karrion Kross, and Authors of Pain. I don't know who wins that match. Karrion Kross and Authors of Pain being like the new faction, like new in the last maybe 4 to 6 weeks, to help build their credibility. I could see them getting the win. And then maybe you just have Street Profits leave Lashley and say, all right, this isn't working. Get the Street Profits away from Lashley. Let Lashley go back to doing singles matches. I kind of saw what they were trying to do with that, but it just hasn't been reading. So it's just kind of a waste of TV time, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if they just kind of let that one fall off the face of the earth. Let's see. Okay, so did cover the Bailey and EO stuff. Again, I think Damage Control, put the women's tag belts on them, have them move across both shows, build the women's tag division. Let Bailey go on a run. Let her lose it sooner than later to a heel. Let the heel carry it. Let Bailey chase it. So that we care, because I think her just turning face, beating EO at Mania, and then it's like, who you gonna feed the Bailey? Like, they're gonna give us. You could get a rematch with EO in the first pay-per-view after Mania, which I guess will be Backlash. To which I think Bailey retains and keeps it. I'd be surprised if she won at Mania and then just lost it immediately, right? I think the last time they did that, where someone won the championship at Mania and then didn't hold it long, was Randy Orton beat Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania, and then within a couple months, Jinder Mahal beats Randy Orton and is the WWE champion for 4 or 5 months. He's supposed to have a match with Brock Lesnar he was supposed to have a match with Brock Lesnar, champion versus champion, at Survivor Series. We wound up getting, it was AJ Styles winds up beating Jinder Mahal for the belt on SmackDown so that we get Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles. Great move. Not mad about it. I know why they put the belt on Jinder to begin with. They were building up the WWE India fan base. I understood that, and I thought he actually did fine in that time. Looking back, wasn't thrilled about it when it happened, but I knew why they were doing it. Okay, let's move on here. Let's do the United States triple threat match. Okay, Logan Paul defends against Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. I like all three of these guys separately. I get the feud that they've been building with Logan Paul and Kevin Owens. Now you have Randy Orton in the mix, which I think is great for what it serves here. Logan Paul is on the rise. Kevin Owens, after the mania that he and Sammy had last year, winning the tag belts off of the Usos, they were the main event of night one last year, and that was like, to me, I'm nervous that was like their peak, because I don't see them. I don't see them pushing Kevin Owens into the championship picture again and him winning anytime soon. Like, he was Universal Champion at one point, so I'm kind of like, that might have just been it for him having the top title on the main roster. Sami Zayn, I still think that there's room for him to get that moment. Obviously, very over last year. They're trying to tell the story of Sami fighting into the top of the card, which we'll get to in a second. Okay. Logan, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens. I think it's going to be an excellent match. I'm hoping that they make it more exciting, like the build to that match more exciting in the next couple weeks. But they also don't have to invest too much in it, because the match sells itself because of who's in it. Right? It's tough to say here. I mean, I think that it's gonna be Logan Paul just steals it. I think it's gonna be kind of similar to how Seth Rollins won the triple threat at Mania 31, where you know, Seth just happens to steal it from Roman after he's already done the match, kind of thing, with Brock. I think that you could have. I don't know if the brass knuckles they're going to come into play, but I don't see that being the finish of the match. Okay, I actually think it could be a false finish of the match. Maybe somehow he hits someone with the brass knucks, and then the other person just breaks up the count, so it's not the finish, right? I do think someone hits their finisher, and then Logan Paul just throws whoever hits the finisher, throws that person out of the ring, or knocks them out, and then just covers the other person. I think it's going to be something like that. Um, I I'd be okay. The only other thing I'd see here is if Sami Zayn were to beat Gunther, which I don't think is the thing. Okay. I think the story here with Gable, I think the story here is Gable winds up dethroning Gunther. Um, he he deserves it, man. The and we'll talk about that in a second. Um, the only other thing I could see is if Kevin Owens wins the United States Championship, and then Sami Zayn wins the Intercontinental Championship, um, and then they both kind of celebrate together in some fashion. Um, that that would be cool. I'd be okay. Like I'd be really good with it. I just don't see Gunther losing. Um, and I think Logan Paul is retaining as of now. My mind could change in the next couple weeks depending on how they build those feuds on TV. Um, the Sami Zayn. Let's go into the Sami Zayn and Gunther match. Okay, so they had the gauntlet match to determine who was facing Gunther at WrestleMania. It came down to Sami Zayn and Gable, and everyone thought Gable was going to win, and then Sami winds up winning. And then there's a lot of heat from people online. Booker T winds up telling Sami Zayn, "You can't listen to all that, man. You got to go out there and do your job, your best. This is what you love to do. You can't let that hinder, your mentality." Um, I think that if they built Sami and Gunther's feud a little bit longer, then I'd get behind the idea that maybe Sami is going to dethrone Gunther. But I think Gable winds up dethroning Gunther at SummerSlam, and then you get Gunther entering the title picture going into next year's WrestleMania, and you get Gable on a really solid IC title run. Push him as a single star. Um, he's a perfect fit for the Intercontinental Champion, a face champion at that. Following Gunther's historic reign, Gable's the guy, right? In my opinion, Sami Zayn would be next on my list to give as give him a shot with the IC belt and see how he carries it, kind of thing, right? Actually, I think Sami was the Intercontinental Champion before, but it's been a couple years since that, and he had um a short reign from what I remember. Actually, come to think of it, I think Gunther beat Sami Zayn for the IC title initially. Pretty sure, because I think uh, he's been champion a while, so I might be getting all of this kind of wrong. Um, so anyway, I'll digress from there. I think I think the match with Sami and Gunther is going to be really good. I think they're going to give them an ample amount of time, which again, with 7 matches each night, it's great because those matches do get a good amount of time, if it makes sense, right? And I think that the IC title and the US title matches, um, I don't think either one of them aren't going to go anywhere under 15 minutes, right? Because sometimes, and this was before when Mania was on night one and there were a lot of matches. I get it. You're going to have more matches that like Swerve are 9 minutes and some change. There's a couple matches that come to mind, and I'm not going to get into them right now. I think both those matches get at least 15 minutes, maybe even 20. I think the triple threat match is going to go longer just because you have, you know, more people in the match. For one, you can have one of them resting while the other two, you take one of them out and then the other two are filling the time. And then the other person comes back in and then someone else goes out. And then they just rotate, taking turns who's out and which two wrestlers are putting on the show at the time. So I definitely see the triple threat getting more time. I also would not be surprised if Sami Zayn and Gunther gets 20 minutes, right? Because if for either one of them to lose, the match isn't going to be short, especially if Gunther does lose to Sami. It's going to be a 25-minute match. Because in order for Gunther to get pinned, whenever he gets pinned, it's going to be a long match. Whether it's Sami Zayn does it at Mania or if Gable does it at SummerSlam. So I think, like I said, the triple threat, the builds for those matches right now, I don't care so much about, but I do know I'm going to enjoy both of those matches. Like they're both going to be stellar matches, right? Let me see here. What am I missing? Okay. Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso, the match sells itself, right? I'm not even going to go into detail about the match because they are building the match on TV. Just because they are building, the bloodline is running the company right now, right? So you have Jey fighting to put down Jimmy, which I would be surprised if Jimmy won the match. Just being honest. They've been pushing main event Jey Uso for months now, since he got out of the bloodline. Right? I can't see Jey Uso not winning the match. I will be surprised if Jimmy gets the win. Is all I'm gonna say. They're gonna put on a hell of a show. They have been looking forward to this moment, just like Matt and Jeff Hardy. Their dream Mania match was probably to face each other since they were kids. No different for these two, right? Yeah, like I said, I don't want to get too much into that match. The match has been in the works for years and years and years and years, over a decade. So, I mean, them feuding has only been a thing since, they did the Civil War match, which was the Usos versus Solo and Roman. And then I think you got Jey versus Roman, and then Jimmy cost the match. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And then you had Jey versus Gunther on Raw, and then Jimmy cost him the match by ringing the bell. That set up the Mania match itself. They don't need to do anything on TV to sell that feud at all. The match is going to be great, right? Continuing on here, the Rhea and Becky match. I mean, they've been teasing the match for like a year now. We all kind of saw this one coming. And yeah, I see what they're doing by having Becky run the gamut on TV. with Liv Morgan, with Nia Jax. Um, I do think in the next 2 episodes of Raw that they need to let Becky breathe and not put her in matches. Um, just make the focal point Rhea and Becky now. Leave Nia and Liv Morgan out of it. I get why they were getting them involved initially. I thought it might have turned into a fatal 4-way. But the Rhea Becky singles match sells itself. So I'm good with that Nia and Liv being left out of the equation for Mania for the match itself. I think now and the way that they ended Raw this past week, I'm hoping that they just put the focus on the two of them now. It's kind of an interesting dynamic because Rhea is like this tweener right now. She's not super hated as the champ like she was. She's kind of very Randy Orton tweener-esque right now. She's trying to dog the crowd, but people are loving her work so much that you get people that are like excited when her music's hitting, excited to see her come out and get in the ring. So I would say, have Becky get one up on Rhea somewhere to intensify the feud. I guess what they really need to do is have Rhea do something super heelish to get her as the full-blown heel, to get Becky as the full-blown babyface going into the match. I actually think Rhea retains because I know they like to do this, like, if a woman wins at Mania and we want to elevate her, have her hold it until the next Mania. I think Becky, no, I think Becky got the belt off of Bianca at SummerSlam when she surprise came back and squashed Bianca. And then they had Bianca Chase win the Rumble and then go beat Becky at the following Mania.
Dude, I've been getting this annoying itching feeling under my armpits from the deodorants I've been trying and using, and I can't seem to find something that works for me.
Have you ever tried maybe like a natural deodorant?
Natural deodorant? No. Are you insane?
No, but I am wild. Oh, Wild is the UK's #1 natural deodorant company that focuses on performance, sustainability, and style.
Their mission is to clean up the bathrooms by leaving it free of ugly, single-use plastic bottles and unnecessary chemicals.
You know why Wild is great? Because it actually works and it's eco-friendly and contains over 98.5% natural ingredients.
They have a fully sustainable design with aluminum cases that last for a lifetime, plus biodegradable, recyclable refills. And you know what's cool? They can actually imprint your name on these aluminum cases for a small additional fee.
Wild is super convenient with flexible subscription options or paying as one-off purchases. And you can customize your order by choosing your case, color, and various scent combinations. I know I have the ocean mist, the fresh cotton and sea salt, and the orange and neroli flavors, and they all smell super great. And what's best about them is they don't just wear off immediately, and then all of a sudden you smell like BO.
Yeah, I've been rocking the sandalwood and patchouli scent right now. And again, great scent, lasts like throughout the day, that you're pretty much protected throughout the day. And I also was able to try the mint and aloe vera. Big aloe vera fan, right on point, long lasting, and you can look forward to these cases and scents in a limited edition every month.
Go wild today with a special discount of 25% off your first order when you get the code OneSetPod at checkout. Go to wearewild.com and use the code OneSetPod at checkout and enjoy. I don't need to see Becky beat Rhea, if I'm being honest. Like, I would be good with Rhea retaining. It's been my favorite women's title run, like, I'd say probably ever. And I think that because Rhea is crossing in this tweener phase now, let her go full blown babyface. I think in order to do that, you have to either have the Judgment Day turn face, which turning Dom babyface is weird. Priest as a babyface isn't a thing. Finn Balor could go babyface again, but I like him as a heel. I think he's been doing great heel work, and maybe they understand that him as a heel is working better than a babyface. So I think somehow if you got Rhea out of the Judgment Day while she's the champion, I guess the way that you will go about um, the title coming off of her is if you have a different female superstar replace her in the Judgment Day, and then they wind up Judgment Day with whoever that is, with Dom included. If Rhea's a babyface with the belt, and you have Dom cost Rhea the belt, that would just keep the heat on Dom so hard, right? Which this is the first time I'm thinking of it, so I'm just reading it through my head. Like, that makes total sense. If you're gonna break Rhea off of the Judgment Day, Dom and Priest aren't going face anytime. I think Dom stays heel as long as John Cena was a babyface. Just keep him a heel forever, right? Um, Let me see here. I think yeah, so I think overall the undercard, because I'm not going to talk about like I said, I wasn't going to talk about Rock and Roman and Cody. Um, Seth is obviously involved with the tag match. You have Seth defending against Drew McIntyre. I'm not going to get into those right now. They've been doing such a great job building those matches on TV, and I could go another hour talking about just those. Anthony and I really got into The Rock as Hollywood Rock in 2024 now. So we talk about that in the next episode. So I'm gonna leave those off the table for now, and just thank everyone for who tuned in for this little Road to Mania current status of the match card and the matches at hand. Current predictions, which can totally change leading up to Mania, or once we're at Mania weekend itself, which is in 2 weeks. I'm getting pretty pumped. I haven't been this excited for a Mania build-up in a long time. And, for it to be happening in Philadelphia, pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Because certain wrestling fans, like your diehards, are going to remember which Mania happened in which city, right? I know WrestleMania 20 happened at Madison Square Garden. I know WrestleMania 30 happened at the Superdome in New Orleans. People are going to remember WrestleMania 40 happening in Philadelphia, especially when it lives up to the expectation. I have no doubt the show is just going to be stellar. I know I said that earlier, and I rarely say that word. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Please be sure to subscribe. One set on our socials, onesetpod@gmail.com. Subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/onesetpod. Check out our merch store. I'm looking forward to the next several episodes. I've been holding down the fort with these solo episodes. You'll see Anthony on here next week. And then after that, he and I will be doing our official prediction episode. And then the week after that, we'll be doing our reaction to WrestleMania as a whole. And then after that, you'll be seeing some guests with me that I've been working on those episodes along the way. And then Anthony should be back in some capacity a little bit more regularly. Again, thank you all for tuning in. This has been One Set.